Hi guys, and welcome to Jason Talks More, the supplemental show to Jason Talks Geek. I'm Jason M, and I like to read comic books, and I talk to geeky people about geeky things more on a couch with people like DJ Wooldridge.
That's me.
This guy from Only Stupid Answers.
Yep.
You should make a supplemental podcast called Only Smart Answers.
There you go. That's a great idea. Or more stupid questions.
More stupid. I like
options.
it.
We have
I
options.
like it. Copyright DJ.
Just now.
All right, guys. This show, of course, is brought to you by my Patreon, patreon.com/Jawiin, Jawiin. Hop on over. You can see these episodes early. Okay, we, in a previous video, start talking about Marvel vs. DC. Now, if you do not know what Marvel vs. DC is,
You're not living life.
Oh, man. It is a 4-issue miniseries that was in 1996.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC co-published this together. Ron Mars worked on it. Peter David worked on it. Yep. Dan Jurgens worked on it. Claudio, I'm going to say his name wrong, Castellini?
Yeah.
They were the artists. And basically it was about the universes fighting each other.
Yes.
And then in the middle of it, they didn't tell anybody about this. I remember I was reading this comic live. I was buying this month and month. They didn't tell anybody. In the middle of it, their universes combined and they became amalgam.
I don't think we could do that ever again.
Probably not. Too much legalese.
Yeah. But that blew my mind because for some reason I was convinced it was a 3-issue run. And then at the end of the third issue when they merged, I was like, what's happening?
What?
And then you knew there was a fourth one. Yeah.
All right, so we thought we would go through the matchups of the classic DC versus Marvel series, Marvel versus DC. They changed it. They did 2 issues as DC versus Marvel, Marvel versus DC. All right, and we would talk about whether we think that was the right choice, and then also we'll talk about the ones that people got to vote in, because I actually voted back in the day.
Excited to hear about this.
So the first fight was Aquaman versus Namor, and this was Hook Hand Aquaman. Now, who do you think, who should win this fight?
Well, here's the thing. I don't know who I thought then, because I was definitely a Marvel kid then. And as I've gotten older, I've appreciated DC characters more. For me, Aquaman, right? Like who?
Okay. Are we gonna do that? Like, what our now choices is and what our then choices were?
I don't know what my then choices. I can tell you what my then choices was for some of them. But for now, I didn't care. I did not care about these characters at all. Like who? Like I don't. And in fact, I don't know if I knew anybody that cared about these characters when I was a kid.
All right.
It blows my mind that we're even getting an Aquaman movie.
That's crazy.
You know, because of the way he's been received most of the time. But
and he looks like Harpoon Hand Aquaman.
Especially since he has the
That's my favorite
Harpoon Hand in this version. It's like Aquaman, right?
I think
Namor can fly. He's got the little wing feet.
I think Namor is definitely overpowered, but I think Aquaman takes him.
No.
And Aquaman did win.
Do you remember how?
Well, I have it right here in front of me.
Yeah, I want to say I haven't looked at this. Okay. I want to say wait.
Take a guess.
Okay.
I'll tell you whether right.
He crushes him with a giant killer whale. Like he summons a killer whale and it lands on Namor.
Yeah. Namor gets splatted.
And in hindsight, isn't Namor way too strong for that?
Yes. Namor's as strong as Superman.
Yeah, so he's one of the strongest characters in the MCU.
Easily. Yeah. He's like invulnerable.
Do they have the rights to him?
Do they have the what?
Rights to him for the movies? Could we see him at some point? Is he one of those nebulous maybe not?
He's a nebulous maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. He's kind of like Galactus. Galactus is on like this weird nebulous maybe as well.
I would much rather see Galactus than Namor. If you don't get the Fantastic Four, I don't need to see Namor.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. Elektra versus Catwoman.
Real quick, you didn't say who you wanted to win for Aquaman. You said Aquaman.
Aquaman. Right. And even at the time, I would have wanted Aquaman.
All right.
Yeah. I grew up a DC kid.
Yeah.
You
were hardcore from the jump. I was what I think a lot. When you're younger, you're more into Marvel.
See, I was opposite. I didn't get into Marvel until my teenager years.
Interesting.
Yeah. Elektra versus Catwoman,
which still makes sense today as a showdown, I think.
Now, I will say that at the time, I know I said Catwoman, but I agree. Elektra did win.
Okay.
And I do think now that Elektra would easily win.
Why do you say that?
Because she's a ninja and Catwoman is just a thief.
That is a good point when you put it that way. And also, how many times has Elektra died and come back?
A lot.
Yeah. Good luck beating that.
In the comic book, Elektra won by cutting off Catwoman's whip as she hung from a girder.
There you go.
Yep. All right. Next fight is, I think, a joke. Flash versus Quicksilver.
Yeah. No contest.
No
ever.
contest.
In any.
Yeah. And this is Wally West Flash.
Now, to be fair, Quicksilver in the X-Men movies has been amazing.
Yeah.
But there's
he's nigh unstoppable.
Yeah, he is. But even that Quicksilver, I don't think is anywhere close to being as
No.
Flash is so fast he travels back in time.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no beating that.
Yeah. And Flash in the actual fight did win just because he was faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
of course.
and even at the time, I think at the time I didn't even know who Quicksilver was.
Yeah.
When this was coming out, I was like, "Who's Quicksilver?"
Yeah,
I don't know.
I did not care about Quicksilver as a character up until those X-Men movies. You could not convince me that he was a cool character.
Now here is a weird fight. The next one was Robin versus Jubilee, because this is the '90s and Jubilee was popular.
Hugely popular.
And this is Tim Drake Robin.
One of my favorite Robin.
The Robin with the best costume, easily. I was Robin from the beginning,
Yeah.
and Robin should win this fight because he's trained by Batman.
Well, now this completely agreed. Although Jubilee not really trained by Wolverine. He basically babysits her, so that doesn't help you at all.
No, it doesn't help.
But if you remember, they had a little romance.
They did in the series, and they were like, "Oh, if only our worlds weren't fighting."
Yeah.
Yeah, but they still fight each other.
Yep.
In a toy factory.
In a toy factory, and I want to say they kind of pulled their punches, and Robin still
Robin
very easily won.
Robin won because the thing of the contest wasn't about killing. It was about sort of immobilizing somebody.
Yeah.
Like if you could immobilize the other person, you won.
Yeah.
Because they weren't gonna have him kill. Yeah. Robin tricked her with a decoy and then tied her up.
Yep.
So that's how he won.
Like you do when you're Robin.
The next one is crazy. Silver Surfer versus Green Lantern, and this is my favorite Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner.
My
Green
favorite
Lantern.
Green Lantern too.
Oh, good up.
90s kids.
But Silver Surfer is so powerful.
He is, but I think if this were a different Green Lantern, it'd probably be more of a...
So you think of Hal Jordan versus this
maybe a more experienced Green Lantern, because even then Kyle Rayner was new on the block, and he
was very new on the block.
And this is also an evidence of the 90s. It's like, I don't even know if they were to do this today. I don't even know if Silver Surfer would be anywhere on the...
Even in this list.
In the list at all.
No, yeah, because he had a series back then. Well, in the series, Silver Surfer won because they basically just collided with each other and blew up. I kind of agree. I think Silver Surfer wins this.
They also had crossovers before this.
Silver Surfer and
Green Lantern
have an amazing crossover.
And then Batman and Spider-Man, which confused the hell out of me as a kid because they treated it like they just existed together. And Spider-Man was like, I've always been jealous of Batman. What?
And don't forget Superman and Fantastic Four. Galactus tries to make Superman a herald.
So cool.
Go look up that book, kids. Okay, the next one is Thor versus Captain Marvel. Now,
another weird one to me.
This is another weird one. I guess they were like, oh, they're both lightning.
And God-ish
But
figures.
this is the Thor with the very horrible 1990s Mike Diodato costume.
Yeah.
Where he's showing his midriff.
Yeah. Telling you where I was at as a kid, I liked that costume. I thought it was cool.
Okay.
It's only in hindsight, I was like, maybe not so much.
Right. Yeah, not so much. Who do you think wins in this fight?
Thor, right?
I think so too.
Yeah,
But Captain Marvel is sort of a god because he's imbued by the gods.
Yeah, and he's able to go toe to toe with Superman, which you'd think, but he's still a kid.
Yeah. Now, in the fight, Thor won because he shot some lightning that made Captain Marvel turn back into Billy Batson and then just kind of like flicked him.
You know, when you describe how they won, it makes it seem a lot less impressive in hindsight.
It's not that impressive.
Yeah. They were really playing with kid gloves with each other's properties.
Now the next battles are ones that they let readers vote on. And if I remember right, they had the ballots in issue 1.
Did.
So these were the fights. We're going to go through them. Superman versus Hulk.
Yes.
Spider-Man versus Superboy.
Wow.
Batman versus Captain America. Wolverine versus Lobo. And Storm versus Wonder Woman. So let's push through them. Superman versus Hulk is the big brouhaha. This is mullet Superman versus Peter David's very smart Hulk. They're fighting the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and when Hulk was just the Hulk all the time.
Yeah. Now, come on. If you know me, you know who I voted for.
Yeah.
I wrote in
Even
Superman.
Then? Okay.
I wrote in Superman. I still think Superman wins this fight.
You know what? Even as a Marvel kid, it's like, yeah, Superman wins that fight.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
no contest.
And it also weirded me out that those are the two that they pitted against because I guess they just chose the two strongest from each world.
Who else would you put Superman in?
Well, if we were doing it now, I would think maybe somebody like Thor.
Yeah, I could see that. I want to say an interesting thing. You were talking about Silver Surfer would probably not be on this list if it was done modern day. Notice who is not on this list. Iron Man.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Nobody cared until that movie.
I actually cared about Iron Man. I was actually, the funny thing about it is I can still remember, I loved the Kurt Busiek Iron Man run, and that made me love Iron Man.
Yeah.
Nobody else gave a damn about Iron Man. Iron Man was a C-list character.
Yeah.
So I remember when the trailers were coming out for that movie, I was like, yes, Iron Man. And everybody was like, who?
And you were so blessed.
Yep.
Because who would have thought that, like, because I remember Iron Man
Yeah.
comes out, it's like, the movie looks cool, but I don't care about Iron Man.
Yeah.
And it was a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like one of the few people that were like, yeah, an Iron Man movie.
Did you read when he was a teenager?
No, I came after
After
that.
that.
I have read that
I still
run.
wait. Can you explain to me what happened?
Oh, okay. I'll do it in 3 sentences.
Please do.
Okay. Older Tony Stark
Yes.
is discovered that he has been manipulated by Kang, the Time Conqueror, since the original Avengers mission.
Yeah.
So he's been a bad guy the entire time. The Avengers fight older Tony, but realize that they can't beat Tony because Tony's real smart.
Okay.
So they decide the only way they can beat Tony is to travel back in time and grab his teenager self, and they make teenager Tony fight older Tony. Older Tony dies because of heart things.
So what you're telling me is people shouldn't freak out about Cap Hydra.
No, because there have been worse storylines.
Yeah. And that we've completely forgotten
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Anyway,
Okay.
sorry for that aside.
It's
But
all
yeah,
good.
Iron Man's not in here at all.
Iron Man's not in here. Let's go to Spider-Man versus Superboy. This is Con-El Superboy from the Reign of
Yes.
Superman. This is Ben Reilly Spider-Man.
And if you're like, why the hell? It's because at the time they were both clones. Although at the time, I think Ben Reilly thought he was not the clone.
He thought he was original.
Yes.
But now that you say that, that is interesting. I never took that as the Battle of the Clones.
Yeah, that was because again, if you were doing this today, no way in hell would that be your.
Who do you? I'll tell you who I voted for after you tell me who you think should have won.
Should have won. I think who won should have won Spider-Man. Especially if it's a popularity contest, it's Spider-Man. Is there a hero in the world more popular other than maybe Batman?
I'm talking about an actual powers fight. Can Spider-Man beat Superboy? He's Superman.
He is, but especially at this point, he's new on the scene.
Okay.
He's still learning his powers. He doesn't have all of Superman's abilities because I think he still had the tactile.
He has tactile telekinesis. Yep.
Okay. And
I like that power.
And
he doesn't have heat vision.
And even then, Ben Reilly Spider-Man is a little bit more experienced.
True.
Has a little bit more, and I think that wins out.
At the time, I had yet to read Spider-Man. I voted for Superboy.
Because also, you said before you're
Reign
a
of
fan
Superman.
of
Superman. Yeah. I think Superboy takes this. I do. I think Spider-Man would barely win just because of the spider sense.
Yeah.
Now, in the storyline, Spider-Man wins by tying up Superboy with some impact wedding and electrocuting him with some high voltage.
Ooh,
so there
exciting.
You go. All right, let's go to the most boring fight of all of Marvel versus DC.
Yeah.
Batman versus Captain America. First off, what a weird pairing.
Why at all? There was even back-to-back pages like describing their history and how they sort of connected. And even I was like, I
don't see it. I don't know who you would put. For me, I would almost put Batman versus Daredevil, maybe.
That's for the two difficult ones for me. Like if you were to do this day, are Spider-Man and Batman. Because like, what Batman knockoff at Marvel do you choose? Do you choose Moon Knight? Do you choose Daredevil? Do you choose?
Yeah.
Do you choose Wolverine?
And also, again, I would say if you were to do this list now, Daredevil would be in this fight. Daredevil not in that fight.
No,
in this time.
No, not at all. And for me, and didn't this end in a draw-ish?
It did end in a sort of draw.
Because this is what kind of led to Amalgam.
Yeah. The draw is what ended in Amalgam. Now, I think Batman takes Captain America.
No offense to Batman.
Yeah, Batman and Captain America actually did end in sort of a draw, even though Batman sort of
one-ish,
sort of, because he knocked him underneath the water with a battering. And at the time,
and then he saves him.
Which I think is what made the two beings consider it a draw.
Yeah.
At the time, I voted for Batman, but
even as a
kid,
because Batman wins.
I won as Batman. Yeah. Batman
that's right. Because you were. I was the Marvel
I'm
kid.
the DC kid.
You were the DC guy. I'm sorry.
But we'll go to this one. No. Wolverine versus Lobo.
The 90s.
Lobo. And at
this
the time,
is so 90s.
Lobo was popular. Lobo was super.
Popular.
He had a solo series.
Yeah.
If you go off of powers, I think Lobo easily wins this fight.
He can take Wolverine into space.
He can fight Superman, for God's sake.
That's true.
But I also understand that nobody was going to vote for Lobo.
Yeah.
This is
because Wolverine. Yeah.
This is the one. When I was handing in my ballot, I voted for Wolverine because I knew who Wolverine was because of the '92 cartoon.
Yep.
I didn't know who the hell Lobo was. I had an idea of who Lobo was
because
I saw ads.
you probably were too young to be reading his comics at the time.
I was too young to be reading Lobo.
I remember seeing those ads and I was like, no, thank you. It's too intense for me. I can't handle that.
Do you like? If we were to do this today, who the hell? Lobo would not even be in this list.
Not at all. Unless you pitted him against Deadpool, maybe.
Interesting. I think you would put Deathstroke versus Deadpool.
That would be fun.
But who would you put Wolverine against now?
That's a great question. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Like, who's
kind of scrappy and maybe has sharp things?
Anti-hero. For a minute, I thought Catman. It's a little one-sided, though, to Wolverine's favor.
Yeah. It's tough. I hear maybe Orion of the New Gods?
That would be cool. Again,
kind of the same attitude?
Same attitude.
I think Orion would take him out. Like,
I
no
think
problem.
Orion could obliterate him with a punch.
Wolverine versus Calabac, but nobody gives a damn about Calabac?
No.
I don't know.
That'd be tough.
Who's in the DC
You know
side?
what? We don't pit them against... Pit your most popular anti-heroes against each other. Wolverine versus Batman.
Okay. Sure. Why not? Let's go for it.
I would love, if I ever got the chance to write this, I would love to do, just like those old school crossovers, I would love to do a Superman-Wolverine crossover.
Okay. Superman Wolverine.
Yeah, just because you'd never expect it. And also, if it was a multi-issue crossover, I'd end the first issue where they meet, and like Wolverine goes to stab him, and the claws like just barely penetrate.
No, his animated claws would break.
Well, I was thinking they just barely penetrate because they're unbreakable, and both of them are completely weirded out by it. Like Superman's like, "How is this even penetrating?"
Oh, how am I sort of bleeding?
Yeah, and Wolverine's
you cut
like, "Why?"
Moss costume.
Yeah, and Wolverine's like, "Why didn't I just gut you?" Like, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I guess it's the idea of the immovable object versus the unstoppable force.
Interesting. I like that. I like that. Well, I voted for Wolverine. Let's move on to the final fight: Storm versus Wonder Woman.
How is this even?
The goddesses.
The
goddesses
come on.
is what. It's a stretch.
It's a stretch, and I don't know if we're jumping ahead or whatever. Who won? It blows my, because how
this
in
is
any other than people voted for, how in any reality.
Well, let's say Storm won because she basically electrocuted Wonder Woman.
Not even then.
But here's the weird thing: in the storyline at the time, Wonder Woman had Thor's hammer,
which made her costume very provocative,
very weird.
Yeah.
But she was worthy enough to pick up Mjolnir.
Yeah.
But she decided not to use it in the fight and be honorable, and that's the reason why she lost.
But even
there's no way Wonder Woman loses this fight.
No,
never.
I don't care what Storm can summon. No. She's done for.
This is the one I would say of all of them that I completely disagree with. Storm won the fight. Everybody voted for Storm. I voted for Wonder Woman.
Yes.
But I think Wonder Woman should have easily won.
Yeah, why would you even let that one open to vote?
Yeah, I don't know.
You'd have to come up with something you would have to have Storm somehow be wielding Mjolnir, then maybe.
And that's it. That's it for DC versus Marvel. Guys, if you don't know about this event, you should go check it out. I don't believe it is available on Comixology.
Yeah.
This is a tough one. It's only been printed in trade once, and they've never reprinted it.
Probably because of rights issues.
It's because of the rights issues. I know that they did a sequel that I think was called DC Marvel All Access.
Yeah, because of a character they introduced.
Because the character was called Access that like kind of contributed that. It was not a great series, but that miniseries did allow them to do Amalgam Wave 2, which I love. I love Amalgam.
Yeah. Have they collected Amalgam at all?
They have collected Amalgam, but they've only collected it again once.
No.
Because they did the same thing with the Amalgam titles. They I think there were 12 Amalgam titles, and DC had 6 and Marvel had 6. And then for the second wave, DC had 6 and Marvel had 6.
Who did you pick up for Amalgam?
Dark Claw.
Of course.
Super Soldier.
Yes.
One I really liked, I really always liked Iron Lantern.
That was a really interesting
written
one.
by Ron Mars of Green Lantern.
Maybe you have Iron Man fight Green Lantern, Hal Jordan versus.
That
may be a little one-sided too. I don't.
No, I actually. Do you think Green Lantern would take out the Iron Man?
Yeah, I mean anything. He can come up with anything.
Okay. Well, let's pick up. Let's plan like right now. Let's pick like 5. Let's go Iron Man, Green Lantern because I like that one. Okay. If DC to Marvel were to be right now, DC versus Marvel, I like Iron Man versus Green Lantern. I think Thor versus Superman is what you're gonna have.
That could work. Yeah. Wonder Woman versus Captain Marvel. They're Captain Marvel.
Interesting. Oh, you wouldn't put Wonder Woman versus Girl Thor?
Well, we already got Guy Thor fighting Superman.
Oh, my bad. Okay, yeah.
You make a good point though. We're doing Girl Thor.
I do think Wonder Woman takes out Captain Marvel, no problem.
If you put Wonder Woman versus either Guy or Girl Thor, who do you put Superman against?
Ooh, interesting. Because we don't have the Sentry.
No.
The Sentry's gone.
Because he became a bad
and we don't really want to do Hyperion because who cares?
And also, he's Superman.
He's Superman.
He's just their Superman.
What other Marvel character can stand up to Superman? That's the problem because Superman can almost like topple every Marvel character.
That's something when you're going through Instagram and you see like the Marvel versus DC memes for the movies. It's like I don't care how you feel about the movies. The movie Justice League would obliterate the Avengers.
Oh, every time.
Not even
every time.
Superman alone would just take out the Avengers. Anyway,
the only team. And we're talking, this is a completely different video.
Yeah.
The only team that ever stands a chance against the Justice League is the Authority. Because they're like kind of an evil Justice League.
Yeah.
And they kind of have the same powers. But the Avengers are obliterated like that.
Yeah, no problem.
Like, no problem.
Anyway.
Maybe Galactus versus Superman?
Right, Galactus. I mean, you could do Silver Surfer, even though they wouldn't do him in spite. Let's move on to somebody else. Let's move on to...
Okay, Batman versus Wolverine. I can get behind that.
Batman versus Wolverine.
So we have Batman versus Wolverine, Iron Man versus Green Lantern. We have...
Wonder Woman versus Thor.
Wonder Woman versus... Let's go Wonder Woman versus Thor.
Superman versus Captain America. No, personality-wise, if it was just personalities,
it would work. Yeah, it would work. Okay, so we're missing.
Do you go back to Superman versus Hulk?
You have to have Hawkeye versus Green Arrow.
Yes, please.
And at the time, they're both as popular now. Hawkeye versus Green Arrow actually happened in the DC versus Marvel original miniseries.
Like in a panel.
It was in a panel.
Yeah.
So, but now I think both characters are big enough.
Yeah. That they could be incorporated. And I actually had a card set of Marvel versus DC that had other fights in them. Yeah,
I did too.
And to show where Iron Man was on the hierarchy, he was pitted against Steel.
Yeah.
Steel is amazing.
I love Steel.
But like,
I have an action figure of him up there.
He's not like comparing to how marquee a character Iron Man is now. Steel is nowhere near
him.
See,
here's the big problem, child. Flash, because I don't think you can put Flash versus Quicksilver would never make it into this list.
No.
But you have on the DC side, you have to have Flash here. But who the hell do you put him? Is it Flash versus Hulk?
Who do you put against?
Yeah.
Is there... I'm trying to think of characters with, like, timey-wimey powers that might be able to...
Because even Spider-Man, like, can't go against Flash.
You know, if you're doing... Yeah, exactly. If you were doing like, personality-wise, I think Spider-Man and Flash would be great. Well, you can't have the Marvel list without Spider-Man.
Spider-Man has to be on the Marvel side, and you cannot have the DC list without Flash now.
No.
I know, it's weird. Interesting conundrums. Guys, let us know down in the comments below what you think would be the modern Marvel versus DC. Let us know if you think about any of these fights and if you read this series as well. DJ, thanks for doing a super extra Jason Talks More, like probably the geekiest Jason Talks More I've ever done.
I've wanted to talk about this forever. Thank you for giving me the excuse.
We talked about it for 20 minutes.
Thank you for giving me the excuse.
DJ, where can they find you on the internet?
At DJ Talks Trash, anywhere that matters, and check out Only Stupid Answers on iTunes and SoundCloud.
It was an awesome podcast. Guys, don't forget to click subscribe and also check out Jason Talks Geek History Lesson, and also Stories You Should Read, where I give you picks about comic books that you should check out every single week. Let me know in the comments if you think I've repeated this too many times. I've already told you to go in the comments. It doesn't matter because I'm Jason Inman, and I'll be seeing you next week.